first and foremost, do you want to tell us who you are?
Sure, yeah. My name is Jed MacKay. I'm a comic book writer working mostly for Marvel. I currently write Black Cat, Moon Knight, and more sort of germane to the subject of our conversation here, the death of Doctor Strange.
Fantastic. And like I was saying, really enjoyed the first issue. Gave me it gave me goosebumps. That little twist at the end. Because I was like, okay. So, it kind of tricks you into thinking it's one thing's gonna happen, but then it does like an interesting callback, and you're like, bam, wait till you see what happens next. Really good. Can't emphasize that enough. But for those people who probably didn't know this comic book was coming out, which I think you'd be crazy if you didn't, or if they don't know what to expect with this comic book series, do you want to give them a brief overview?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's quite simple. It's called The Death of Doctor Strange. We're taking Doctor Strange off the board. He's had a good run. He's a long-lived staple of the Marvel universe, but everything comes to an end. And over the course of this, in this main series, we're going to be investigating, what happened to Doctor Strange, why did this happen to him, and hopefully, find some justice for him. Well, at the same time, looking at what the effects are of that murder. What does the world look like when there's a big Doctor Strange shaped hole in it? So, and obviously, it's not going to be anything good. He's the Sorcerer Supreme, he's the head honcho of magic. He's the guy who protects the world against magical threats. And when he's not there, that's going to be a big problem. And so we'll, explore that in the main series, and then with the tie-ins as well. We'll see all around the world all the difficulties that ensue with a lack of the Sorcerer Supreme.
And I'm glad you said that, because it actually really does paint an interesting picture of what a world, just in the first issue, what the world is going to look like without him. And it raises a very important question about Doctor Strange that I don't think anybody really realized, that he is the guardian of Earth from, the supernatural realm. So this kind of leads into two questions. The first being,
sure.
What excited you about that, or was that part of the reason why you took this job, and how did you get involved with this project?
Well, it's kind of a funny story in that would have been going on a year ago. I finished up writing Taskmaster, and I thought to myself, well, I need to get another book on my slate, just because you got to stay busy, got to keep hustling. And I was finishing up writing the Black Cat King in Black arc, which is where Black Cat, she goes to save Doctor Strange because he's held in symbiote prison. It's a whole thing. So I thought, well, there's no Doctor Strange book out right now. And I looked around, there's no Doctor Strange book announced. So I'm like, well, I'd like to write Doctor Strange. So I just emailed Darren Shan, who's the Doctor Strange editor. I was like, hey, I don't know if you guys have any plans for Doctor Strange or anything going on, but could I write a Doctor Strange series? And it's like, yeah, absolutely. We're going to kill him and you can write it. I was like, oh, okay, that's not what I expected. But yeah, sounds great. Let's roll with it.
And so that actually answers another question that I had. I wanted to know if it was your idea to kill him off, or as you said, Marvel said, no, we're going to take him off the board ourselves, but you can decide how it happens. So you pretty much got to fill in the gap.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of things with Marvel, it doesn't always come from, me coming out of nowhere saying and pitching, say, hey, I want to do this with this character. Like, hey, we should kill this character. A lot of times the editors are coming up with ideas and thinking, what can we do that's exciting? What can we do that's interesting? What can we do that will, push this universe forward? And the death of Doctor Strange was one of those things. So it was in the works, and I just kind of staggered into it at the right time.
That's so awesome. And so did they also pick the next Sorcerer Supreme, or did they leave that up to you?
Well, that's something that we would work together on. Like, again, when I came into Death of Doctor Strange, the idea of the sort of groundwork that had been laid was basically Doctor Strange is going to die. There's some other kind of bits and bobs. The sort of ending reveal is something that actually Tom Brevoort had been thinking about for a while, and they brought that up. And I was like, wow, that's actually like a really really elegant idea, and I think that's a great kind of ball to run with. That we're going to see how that plays out through the rest of the series. But for the most part, the circumstances of his death, the events which kind of snowball out of it, is it's stuff that I would work with the editors, and we kind of figure out what would work. And then by the same metric, the tie-ins that come out, it's also, these are ideas that are coming from the creators who are working on those.
And one thing that I really like about it is that it's kind of got like a murder mystery thing to it. Whereas I've read a couple of other, death of series, and it kind of just takes you on this with this character to the very end. And then the last issue is them dying, showing you how they die. But here it takes them out immediately. And then from this point forward, it's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes thing, which I think is really funny because, Benedict Cumberbatch plays Sherlock Holmes. So was that something that also excited you? Something that you had fun working with, that idea?
Yeah, I mean, like Doctor Strange, he's a character that has a lot of old school charm. His look, his whole demeanor, his crew, and there's nothing more charmingly old school than a classic murder mystery where you've got. I mean, there's any number of people who could have done this. There's any number of people who could have been behind it, but generally speaking, not every murder mystery puts the entire planet in peril. Which I think is kind of what's fun about the series is we've got, on one hand, we've got our murder mystery angle. And on the other, the planet is also in, a great deal of difficulty as a result of this. So, they got to kind of tie this up in order to save the world.
And so this is actually something that I thought of, and I hope that this is the direction that it goes. I won't be disappointed if it's not. But at the end, when Doctor Strange is at the end of the first issue, when you see that he's dead, you kind of have all these rogue characters come out surprised. Do they form like their own makeshift Avengers or special group to try to solve the mystery?
I mean, you're going to see people coming together in various aspects to try to figure this out. As to the actual specifics of that, you're gonna have to wait till next month and see how it all shakes out.
All right, fair enough. Now, as you mentioned, you kind of dabbled with the character before, but this is from what I saw, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first full-blown issue and story that you're telling of Doctor Strange, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had Black Cat rob his house early on in the series. And we brought him back when we were doing King in Black. So, but I mean, at that point in time, he showed up in the last panel of a 2-episode arc in Black Cat, and then showed up in the last 2 issues of the King in Black arc, one of which he was unconscious for the entire time. So, this is the first time I've actually got my hands on Doctor Strange, just driving the car, so to speak. So, yeah, I'm very excited about it.
And are there any other superheroes that you haven't had the chance to work with or play with that you're hoping you can after this?
Yeah, I mean, there's always characters I'm really interested in working with. I've actually been very lucky in that I've got to kind of cross a lot of them off, especially given how unmarketable a lot of them are. Like, I'm Canadian. I love Alpha Flight a lot. It's very tough to get an Alpha Flight book going. So I was very, very pleased and very happy that I got to do a story in the last Alpha Flight one shot. That was like an anthology one shot. Similarly, there's just kind of like side characters. There's a while there I was really pushing for Ulysses Bloodstone, who we did a few stories with him in like Bizarre Adventures, I think it was, and, in Black Cat, and he was in that Alpha Flight story as well. So I was just kind of like picking up characters and seeing what I can do with them and what might be interesting. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, there are a lot of characters I like to get to work with, but I've also been very lucky in that I have got to work with a lot of the characters who are on that list. I'm writing Moon Knight right now, which is wild.
Yes, and then I gotta say, I was surprised. I'd always been fascinated by the character Ghost Panther. And I found out that you contributed to that. And I was like, oh my God, it's so cool. He's literally like the coolest idea ever. And let's hope they find a way to bring him into the live action world one day.
Yeah. I mean, Ghost Panther was a series that I think is kind of I consider kind of like one of my diamonds in the rough, where I don't think it got a whole lot of attention, but I also, to this day, it was like the second miniseries I'd ever done. So, but and I don't know, I still really like it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad of the Infinity Warp's characters, that was the one I got to work with, because it's the one I like the most.
Yeah, it's the coolest, and I think with all this talk about the what if universe, I think it is just a very ripe story. And like I said, I hope that it'll be plucked from obscurity in the future, because I think stranger characters have definitely been plucked for awful reasons. But that's a different discussion for a different day. Now, I'm glad you mentioned Moon Knight. You've done quite a lot with the character, and I have to ask this because I'm personally interested in knowing this, and I'd kick myself if I didn't ask. But have any of your storylines or any of your ideas been picked, or have you been consulted on? I guess what I'm asking is, have you been consulted on for the upcoming series with Oscar Isaac?
Oh, no, I mean, like, by the time I started working on Moon Knight, I think they had started filming the TV show, so they would have been like, long set in what they were going to do. And I mean, the thing is, I don't think there would be a whole lot of crossover anyway. It's the first season of a new character show. It's, we've seen this before. It will probably, as far as I know, be origin stuff. Whereas we've seen Raoul Bushman shoot Moon Knight 100 times now. We're kind of moving on to a character who's a little more seasoned, a character we've seen all his origin stuff in the past, and we're kind of moving forward. So, I mean, like, someday, I don't know, but currently, our Moon Knight comic and the Moon Knight television show are two completely unrelated entities.
Fantastic, Jed. Those are all the questions that I had. Is there anything else that you think people should know? Anything you think people should be excited for? Is there another project? I remember when I spoke to Jason Aaron a few months back, even though he was working on the Heroes Reborn, he had already kind of started on his follow-up project. So do you want to tease anything else that you're working on after this?
Not much I can say that hasn't been announced. Like, there's stuff I'm working on that I'm very excited about, that I hope we can see soon. But as far as, just, I hope people will keep trying out the books that we're working on. Moon Knight's still chugging along. We've got issue 3 coming out soon. We've got Death of Doctor Strange is coming out, so we'll have a month before we see what shakes out of that for issue 2. So yeah, just, keep posted, and I hope you keep supporting or trying your books out.
Thank you so much, Jed. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and hopefully, you'll be hearing from me again if I'm not happy with what I read. Okay.
It's all right. I know how the mute button works.
Take care, man. Have a good one.
All right. Have a good one.